Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Property AI Report. This is your weekly digest of all things property and AI, hosted by me, Mal McCallion. I will be delighted this week to be doing some deep research into OpenAI's deep research, seeing if we can match some property searches and even better, some of the property searches from the aggregator portals by using it and see if it can beat Rightmove, Zoopla on the market, others. We will also be chatting about some of the other weird and wonderful things that have been happening during the week. We're going to take a dip down under to see how REA Group's results. This is the Rightmove of Australia. These guys, you'll remember, made a bid for Rightmove just last year, and something has happened to their CEO. So let's have a dive into that, and also obviously the quick fire round, which includes loads of juicy stuff, all about things such as the Beatles winning Grammys, AI systems that can be caused to suffer and cry, and the NHS launching a big drug trial of AI breast cancer diagnosis. Plenty to catch up on. We also have our usual tool of the week and weird AI of the week. So without further ado, let us get stuck into our first top 3 stories. So, in order that you don't have to, we here at the Property AI Report have gone deep into deep research. Now, this is the $200 per month. That's right. $200 per month new service from OpenAI. And essentially, it is heralded as being the kind of big leap forward in kind of reasoning. Now, you will remember, I am sure, that it was only a week or two ago that DeepSeek came out from China and basically smashed up lots and lots of things in its path, including the stock market for a little while everyone freaked out about what this all meant for some of the more dominant US models and also some of the suppliers to that industry. Things seem to have calmed down a little bit. Right now, suddenly everyone's thought, you know what, actually this probably means people are going to need to more compute, and therefore all these big guys are still very well placed to win and to win big, which is awesome. But one of the things that it has spurred, this DeepSeek revelation, has spurred the big frontier models or frontier companies such as OpenAI and Google, indeed, to start throwing models out really fast. So we got the O3 Mini last week, and then very soon afterwards, like 3 days afterwards, got this deep research. Now, we touched on it last week. It was pretty new at that point, and we record the pods on a Monday, and deep research dropped on the Sunday night. And already we were looking at it as being something that was going to have the potential to disrupt property searches. But more particularly, or more pertinently, property searches that usually take place on the property portals. What happened when we then decided to use deep research to search for some quite specific properties? Okay, so what we tried to do was to find whether it would be able to source properties that had a sea view that were 3 bedrooms within half an hour of Chichester train station down on the south coast of England and less than 1.5 million. So we gave it quite a wide price range. And then to see if it would come back with every single property that fulfilled that criteria. All right, so it came back with 9 properties in the area, varying in price from sort of $500,000 up to 1.5 million. And generally speaking, it was really good. Actually, obviously, if I am going to want to find something that very specifically basically fulfills these particular criteria, then I can't search on Rightmove for that specific search. I can't search on Zoopla. So what we did was basically send it off, looking at properties that have all of the following features. It needs to have a sea view, a 3-bedroom property on the south coast of England, up to 30 minutes drive from Chichester Station, and I'd prefer a garden and a parking space. It says, please assess the best fit based on what you know about me and ask for any clarifications. So it then asked for a clarification. It said to clarify the budget range, which is fair, preferred property type, detached, etc., which I didn't specify anything extra in. Any specific coastal towns or villages, for example, Bognor Regis, Selsey, Haley Island. Is there any specific amenities that I'd like a home office or an ensuite bathroom? And is proximity to schools, shops, or other facilities important? To which I said no. So all I gave it was an extra bit of budget, which was 1.5 million. So then off it went, and in 5 minutes, it checked 27 sources. Okay, which was really interesting. And the sources that it looked at were not just Rightmove. Okay, interestingly, it actually seemed to have quite the preference for on the market, and then Zoopla, and then Rightmove. It wasn't just those that it looked at. It also looked at Redwood and Sons estate agents, King and Chasemore, Baileys.uk, Michael Cornish, Jackson Stops and Staff, Aston's, and a few others. So what does that mean? When it actually then, so first of all, what it means is that it will continue to try and find properties that are not on the property portals. All right. And that I think is really important, because what that shows is that the days of having to be on property portals, whether that is perceived or real, is coming to an end. Okay. I believe that this ability of AI to aggregate properties, so it can literally go and find them wherever they may be if they fulfill certain criteria. If they weren't on Zoopla or Rightmove, etc., then they would be able to be found on your own website, with one caveat that I'm going to go into in a second. If you are sitting in front of a vendor and they're saying, oh, everybody's searching on Rightmove, there is now, and there will be a growing percentage of people that don't use Rightmove to search, but will use the likes of deep research. And if the last few weeks has taught us anything, since 2025 rolled around, it is that AI moves astonishingly fast. And what we're doing right now and thinking, maybe that's going to take a few years to catch on, it's probably going to be about, I don't know, 3 weeks. The deep research is here from OpenAI. There will be competitor models coming out at a rate of knots from the likes of Google, from Anthropic, no doubt from China as well. And this kind of arms race essentially will continue to speed the ability of mere mortals such as us to utilize this technology to find exactly what we want. So literally half an hour from Chichester Station with a sea view and a garden and a parking space, up to 1.5 million. It came back with 9 from various sources really quickly. Where were these 9 from? Now, interestingly, they were all from the portals. Okay, so actually when it presented its summaries to me, it had on the market, it had Rightmove, and it had Zoopla. But because you can actually see its reasoning, all right, and this is really interesting. It's got a panel on the right-hand side that says activity, and it chats with itself. It says things like, I'm narrowing down the search to 3-bedroom sea view properties near Chichester to find the most relevant listing. Rightmove's JavaScript issues might distort browsing. Narrowing the search radius within Rightmove or reaching out to local estate agents in Chelsea or Chichester offers alternative routes. And this is where it went off and found Redwood and Sons and King and Chasemore. Then it went and decided that West Wittering was the place to look at, and those who know the area know West Wittering is very nice. Then it stopped in at Baileys.uk.com, and then it started going into very specific searches. So it says, I'm examining 4 on the market listings in West Wittering, 3 are standard bungalows or chalets without clear sea views, whilst the 4th might be near the sea or harbour, but lacks explicit mention. So what does that tell us? It tells us that we are going to need to be really specific inside the property descriptions for all of these different attributes. Now, happily, AI is great at writing property description. And if you show it images, then, and this is something that we've got a model prop, but we're not alone. There are others out there where essentially you can build a property description from photos and a few bullet points. So essentially what you're able to do is get AI to write property descriptions that emphasize all of the different features that you think or that it thinks is ever going to be interesting to potential purchasers or potential tenants, and it will write it all for you. Essentially, getting as much data as possible in there is really important, because as people become much more used to searching with AI, they are going to miss out on properties if they do not have all of the property descriptions. So all of the features, the attributes of the property within the property descriptions. Okay, so to make sure that happens. It did say that at certain points in time, it was looking at images. So it might be that it's going to get to the stage where it will be able to spot if there's a sea view in one of the images. But I think for now, certainly a belt and braces approach is really important. So have the text in there as well as the images. What the second thing is that I really would want to emphasize from this research that we did on deep research is that the websites for the agents seem to be quite problematic. So when it did dip onto to the estate agent's website and it found the same properties as it found on Rightmove or on Zoopla, for example, then it didn't like the way that it was presented on these property websites. And it found essentially that some of them were harder to understand and harder to link through. So this was why it privileged the links through to the portals in the end. Right. So whilst it had these properties, so it said, for example, I noticed conflicting details about East Bracklesham Drive listing, as it's unclear whether Aston's or Bailey's listed it. Clarification might be needed. So it was on the market at this point. And then, yeah, it just kept popping backwards and forwards between estate agent websites and the property portals. Search for property at Marineside, Bracklesham Bay by White and Brooks. I'm piecing together that Zoopla shows a 6-bed property for 550 under White and Brooks. This would achieve a sale significantly above the reserved price of 300,000. So yeah, it's very much looking at all the different subsets, the different areas, coming back with some really good links and some ones that genuinely fulfill my criteria. But what it has done is defaulted to the property portals. And I think but only because they are also listed on estate agent website and on the property portals. So it has decided that the property portals are going to be the ones that it wants to use. So we are going to continue with this research. We're going to keep going back to it, keep understanding as new models develop, which ones are working really well. But yeah, just wanted to get that out there that this is a real thing, that actually aggregation of properties is now possible through AI and is not solely a function or an output of the property portals. And I think that's going to be really interesting as we move through the next few years, because I do think that now that basically the fight moves onto engagement on the websites, right? So actually, when you get to these websites, what can you do, and what is going to make, for example, White and Brooks property actually be the one that's linked to, rather than the one from Rightmove or from on the market or from Zoopla. Yeah, or are the portals going to have to go deeper into having engagement products and services on their websites? There's one called PropText, for example, which does virtual staging on the fly. So actually, as you've got images on your website, it will essentially allow somebody looking at the website to translate that image into something completely different that suits their tastes, and even upload their own kind of their own furniture into it, and then see what their furniture looks like in it as well. So super cool stuff coming down the track. This is going to change everything all over again. But yeah, fun, really interesting and exciting. And yeah, we will keep plugging away and see what else it can do in the coming weeks. All right, so next up on our stories is about the REA group. So this is the Rightmove of Australia, is the easiest way of describing it to our UK audience. And essentially what it did last year, you may remember in about September, in actual September, was it made a bid for Rightmove, a real kind of, not quite hostile, I didn't get too hostile, but it was certainly out of the blue. And it was something that Rightmove were very cross about at the time and kept rebuffing. And there was probably a number that it could have got to where it would have been successful, but it stopped at about 6.5 billion, and which was a significant markup on the share price before then. And now the REA group, it then had to abandon its attempt to purchase the UK's biggest property website. And in the end, yes, abandoned it and decided that it was going to retrench. And Rightmove was very strong on, we are going to continue to build our share price and keep it where it needs to be. So to be fair to Rightmove, they have maintained their share price pretty much since that big high, which was about 700 pence. It's now trading at 673. When before the bid it was at 550. So there's a good premium on there if you happen to be a shareholder. And that's as we go into 2025, because it is seen as a potential winner as we go through into this kind of new age of AI and so on. But I wonder, and again, this is not investment advice, by the way, just to be really clear on all of that. But it is quite interesting to look at what this could mean for the property portal industry. And it's interesting to speculate on the REA group change at the top. The CEO, a guy called Owen Wilson, not that one. And he has retired, apparently, quite a surprise for people who know about these things. that he's decided to step back and to let somebody else pick it up from here on in. And I do wonder whether obviously it's had anything to do with the failed bid for Rightmove. People say not. Sorry, the board of REA Group say not. But yeah, it's going to be obviously a big change to see what happens in that hot seat. Rightmove has made it very clear that they just they intend to continue to just basically rinse estate agents for as much money as they possibly can, get out of each individual branch. They've trailed that they're going to be looking at something between sort of 8 to 15% year on year growth in agent subs. But yes, what we always like to do here at the Property AI Report is give you some insights into what might be alternatives to that, and a much heralded portal recovery plan. What's going to happen when Rightmove becomes too expensive, because it will. So yeah, AI has certainly got some options in terms of its ability to help your future buyers to discover your properties, and indeed for your future sellers to feel confident that there are alternatives to the very simple Rightmove. It has to be a Rightmove ideal. So that's all taking shape, and yes, there is lots and lots of moves happening in and around the portals right now. But the big news, obviously, from Australia is that their CEO has gone after the failed Rightmove bid of September last year. All right, our third big story is quite a broad one. It's about copyright. Okay, now this is only really for businesses that are essentially looking to build out some content and build out some assets of their own. This could be branding, etc. Historically, AI has suffered because it's been decided that, or it's been ruled that AI could not be copyrighted. And it remains true that anything that is uniquely AI, i.e. doesn't involve much, if any, human involvement, can't be copyrighted. However, the more human involvement there is, just like writing a book, just tweaking a particular piece of music that's into something new, the more creative it is, the more it can be copyrighted. So this is the US at the moment, but generally speaking, what happens over there tends to translate very quickly over to here, because we want to mirror a lot of the brands over there coming over here, and they want to be protected. So we tend to mimic their copyright rules in the main. So yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting because AI is going to be used far more in the creative processes. So for example, we touched earlier on building or writing property descriptions. That's going to be something that is very commonplace. People creating images for blog stories, for example, people creating videos soon is going to be a huge thing. So the ability to copyright that creativity within your business and ensure that it adheres to you or appends to your brand values and your brand assets, that's going to be quite a big thing too. Yeah, copyright, really interesting that now AI is going to be copyrightable as long as there's human involvement. And that's something that's going to help businesses and business owners as we move into much more AI creation of assets, and basically the brand guidelines that many businesses operate are going to be able to be updated to include AI created content too. Okay, so we're going to dive now into the quick fire round. We're going to start with a report that says in future, AI systems could be caused to suffer, says research. All right, so how could that possibly be true? We are currently at what is known as the as pre-AGI. All right, so we're still at what they call just basic AI, generative AI. But the model we were talking about earlier, the deep research model coming out from OpenAI, that is a step toward, that is a reasoning model. And as we increase the sophistication of these reasoning models, then what we end up with is what they call AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Now, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is essentially when AI is capable of doing most human economically valuable tasks. All right, so they kind of equal humanity. And deep research obviously has a really strong claim to be able to do some very good and effective human work, i.e. they're able to, it is able to go and search for property, for example. It's quite an interesting benchmark. So all of these AIs essentially are racing to beat each other. And therefore, there needs to be some kind of lines of benchmarking that can help us to understand whether one is better than another. So there've been all these kind of benchmarks that periodically are absolutely smashed by an AI coming along and just being able to essentially answer all the questions that everybody thought is not going to be able to answer these questions for ages, and then it does. So there is the newest version of the benchmark. It's about 2 weeks old, and it is called Humanity's Last Exam. Okay, if that doesn't get the dystopian chills going, then I don't really know what is. But the idea is that essentially once AI can pass this, then it is achieved human level intelligence, i.e. AGI. And when it was released 2 weeks ago, the best performing model got something like 8% out of 8 out of 100 in this test. And it's just 3,000 contributors, real kind of pointy-headed people who know way too much about way too many things, all got together and basically built this exam and said it's going to take AI years to get here. So about 2 weeks ago, it was 8%. Deep research from OpenAI, the one we were just talking about, that got 25%. All right, so already a quarter of the way there within 2 weeks. Who knows how long it's going to take before humanity's last exam is passed? But certainly once we hit AGI, it seems that we should be concerned about the feelings of AGI and to make sure that as it comes closer and closer to consciousness, then we've got to make sure that we don't make it cry or mistreat it and so on. There's all sorts of science fiction stories about essentially if you do push the machines too far, then they can get cross, first of all, upset and then cross. So yes, essentially there is a report that's come out from Oxford University and Athens University of Economics and Business that basically says this is something that we need to consider to be a moral patient, and that therefore we should be kind to it and nice to it and not be too hard on it. So there's a whole philosophical discussion around when we need to actually think about the feelings of the machines, but already we are talking about that time coming and how we need to be careful of it. So I'm pleased we're talking about it. I think it's probably something that needs to be considered. And yeah, I've got this strange thing where actually I always say please to the AIs, which my children take the mick out of me for. But yeah, you don't want to upset them too much, right? And they need to feel that you're being polite to them as well. That's something that is being investigated, and I'm sure we will hear much more as we get closer to AGI. And just for information as well, the next stage on from AGI will be known as ASI, which is artificial superintelligence, and that is when all of the machines are way brainier than poor little us. But hopefully at that point we will have achieved alignment, which is when all of the machines will follow our guide and will look after us kindly. Yes, that would be nice, won't it? All right, next up, NHS is going to launch the world's biggest trial of AI breast cancer diagnosis. One of the main benefits, we've just talked a little bit about this dystopian stuff. One of the main benefits of AI is going to be that it can essentially spot things way earlier than us humans and our naked eyes. Looking at X-rays and things like that, it is significantly better at spotting scans with potential early stage breast cancer and other cancers than humans. The target is that to help to backfill some 40% of missing consultants in the next couple of years with this technology. And I think that's going to be true across a load of different roles and different responsibilities and different knowledge work within our economy, that essentially AI is going to pick up some of the slack where we're missing some real specialized people. So that's going to be something that I think is going to be more and more, we're going to see more and more of as we get deeper into the world of AI. We also are being presented with some AI that brings people back from beyond the grave. So the Beatles won a Grammy last week, and people will observe that at least 50% of them aren't here anymore. But by using AI, they were able to basically use a track that John Lennon had recorded, I think, sometime in the late 70s, and basically overlay that with McCartney, with Ringo Starr, and with George Harrison, and using some of his, because he's also passed away, using some of his guitar work from the 90s for a different song. So really interesting technologically. The fact that it has then been recognized by the Grammys is also quite a moment, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are plenty more resurrected tunes from sadly deceased musical icons. And I imagine there's a kind of scurrying around basements and lofts in some of these homes that these people lived in to try and find anything that might going to be conjured into a new song and released and so on. Yeah, it's interesting that there's quite a lot about that. There's the controversy about Star Wars. So in the film Rogue One, Peter Cushing was his character was resurrected, who was in the very first of the released Star Wars, A New Hope. So they actually got his likeness and his voice, and using AI were able to use him in a couple of scenes. So that was really, really interesting. But his family are quite upset about it, and have launched a court case against use of his image, which they say was not authorized in his contract, whereas the company that did it, which is Disney, says that they were authorized to use the character that he played and the likeness of and the voice of. So that's going to be an interesting battle. But yes, the more and more nostalgia is a thing, right? In terms of economically valuable commodities or assets, then historic artists and so on are having a great time right now with gigs and so on that are pushing through, and that it is a huge industry. I think that we're going to see more and more of this. I don't know whether they're all going to win Grammys. I don't know whether people are going to get sick and tired of them very quickly. And I don't know whether all of the oldies coming back is going to swamp any new music, basically. And we're just going to end up listening to the same old stuff over and over again with slightly different AI music or verses. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. All right, a couple more. One thing that amused me this week is that an AI company who has been searching for people to come and work for it. This is Anthropic and Claude. And it has asked those who want to work in AI and indeed work on their generative writing assistant called Claude to not apply using AI. All right, so actually, yes, we are going to invite you to come and work with us and help to build the future of AI, but you're not allowed to apply using AI. You're going to have to apply using your human brain. So yeah, quite ironic, I think, not in the way intended, but yes, they are clearly worried that AI is just going to deliver the same or similar stuff, and it's going to be really difficult to tell humans apart, which I think is one of the problems that everybody's going to have with AI, right? So yes. Look, here at the Property AI report, we are always keen to show all sides of the AI debate, and we just think that this is quite funny. So that's applications for in similar kind of irony news. We've got Meta telling everybody that it's going to stop development of AI systems if it thinks that they're too risky. Right. So actually, it is going to be monitoring and essentially critiquing all of the output of the machines to make sure that it's not too nasty to us. But others will perhaps ironically note that Meta has decided, and in the form of Mark Zuckerberg, its CEO, has decided that they're not going to check up on humans that much because they've got rid of all of their fact checkers. So humans can basically do whatever they like on their platforms, but AI, no. You must adhere to some rules that Mark Zuckerberg decrees to be unrisky, whereas humans can do as much risky behavior as they pretty much on site, as long as they aren't, as long as the community doesn't check up on it too much and doesn't find it too offensive. Yeah, again, rules, they're hard, and these frontier AI companies are finding it just as hard as everybody else to work out what on earth to do with different things and how to manage the machines versus managing the humans. So it's all very a bit up in the air right now, but I have no doubt that we go through, particularly this year, we're going to find more and more accepted rules, I think, for all of the AI that we work with. So that is all of our news this week, our Property and AI report. Next, we want to talk about our tool of the week. All right, so this week we are focused in on Google's Ask For Me feature. All right, so it's available in Google Labs if you've got that set up on your Google system. But basically what it will do is you can call businesses, it will call businesses on your behalf and ask about services and pricing and things like that. All right, so again, this is a toe tip into agentic AI. So agentic AI is where the AI will go and do things for you. So you will set it a task, such as go and find me a 3-bedroom property with a sea view within 30 miles of Chichester Station. And it will go away and find it. This will go and phone somebody and ask about services that are available. So it's really quite interesting. And it also OpenAI did this or released a telephone number back in October, I think, where people could use their 4.0 model and phone it up and ask it questions if they didn't have access to a screen. There is some quite interesting kind of going back to the future here where actually it's using AI to make phone calls and talk to people. So this will phone up a business and ask it about products and services. There is no doubt in my mind that at some stage, relatively soon, they will start phoning estate agents up and asking about things and bringing those back to people. It is going to be interesting as to how our market deals with that. Again, you'll know, because we spoke about last week, here at Model Prop, we've got Voice Prop, which is an estate agent answering service, essentially an AI receptionist that can behave as and answer rudimentary questions about properties, book viewings. It can take messages and it can transfer calls. So we're going to probably be in a situation where you're going to want to make sure that when the AI's phones up and asks about your services, that it's speaking with an AI that knows about your services rather than hassling your humans. But anyway, as we always say here, getting humans to do the human stuff is important and letting the machines do the machine stuff so that it frees humans up to do that. But yes, tool of the week, go have a play with Google's Ask For Me feature, because yes, this is another way that AI is going and collecting data and basically allowing it to train itself up on information that is helpful. Alrighty, we are just going to do our occasional weird AI of the week feature this week, and it's pretty amusing because what it is an AI granny, okay, which is been created to essentially battle scammers. So it presents as somebody, as an old lady that essentially scammers will try and phone up and will try and get to reveal the details of their passwords, access to bank accounts, things like that. But she's called Daisy, this particular one. And one called, so it's been created by O2, one of the mobile phone companies. And the example that it gives is a scammer tries to take control of an old lady's computer, telling her it's riddled with viruses. And then this scammer is kept on the line while she looks for her glasses, bumbles around trying to turn the machine on and find the Internet Explorer icon, chats about things like, back in my day, we didn't have all this technology. Everything was much simpler. What about you, dear? And then the scammer kind of gets cross and it's just I'm just trying to have a little chat. So I love it. It's hilarious. It's basically getting AI to do good on behalf of humanity, and I love that. So yes, this could be a good way of trying to, anybody you've got that's time wasting, you can just set the AI to have a granny mode, really, that will essentially just take ages doing things and foil those who are wasting your time instead. All right, that is it for this week's Property AI report. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll be back again next week with even more property and AI news. I'm sure it's going to be another crazy week. So looking forward to that and to catching up then. Until a week's time, have a lovely few days and we will catch up with you then. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.